Whether you're watching, listening or reading this, welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog. And today we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of your gut instinct when making decisions. So the Runpreneur vlog is part of the Runpreneur challenge, which is our mission to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging on consecutive days the distance of one lap around the world. It is a huge 40,075 kilometres. It's going to take 11 years to accomplish. I will commit to running a minimum of 5 kilometres every single day whilst vlogging, and I'll even do it barefoot style. So to find out how to support the challenge, please go to my links in my bios or check the website challenge.runpreneur.co. And as always, let's get started. So, using your gut instinct. Okay, first and foremost, what is your gut instinct? Okay, well, you know the phrase where people say trust your gut, and what they mean by that is it comes back from, you know, historical times when, you know, your gut would give you, you know, an instinctive message when you're hungry. So you trust your gut when you're hungry, so that's when you eat. So this is where it comes from. But it's a common term that's used in the decision-making process, and it's almost like taking a punt, but with a little bit more comfort behind it, or less risk behind it. If you're taking a punt, that's just a gamble. That's like betting on red or black on a roulette wheel. Whereas your gut instinct is going to be you're going to be pulling upon previous experiences in order to make that decision. So you'd like to think that it would give you better feedback or less risk when using your gut to make a decision than just a pure gamble or a punt. So how can we get a better outcome of using our gut instinct for decision making? Well, there's a number of things that we need to consider here. Well, first and foremost, timing of making a gut instinct decision is really important. The next one is using logic behind a gut instinct decision, and the third one is looking at the big picture and payoff. Okay, so they're the three kind of key areas that you need to associate before you just make a gut instinct decision. Okay, so we'll go through each of them in detail so you can kind of understand how you can use it, and I'm going to change the order a little bit. So the first one I'm going to say is logic. Okay, so when you make a decision, quite often there will be some logical elements that you can kind of utilize to help you make that decision. And when I mean logic, I'm genuinely talking about data or feedback. So when you're looking at data or feedback, generally speaking, it's going to be related to historical instances that may or may not be similar to the decision, to the experience or the decision you're about to make. So the good thing is if you've got a lot of data and you can analyse a lot of you know, a long period of time, a lot of data, you might see some patterns which will give you an understanding of what's going to happen in the future. It's a forecast, there's no guarantee, but it should hopefully allow you to make a better judgment call when you make a gut instinct decision. Okay, so that's the first part of what you should look for. Is there any logical elements? Is there any data you can pull on to help you make this difficult decision? Okay, so just for clarity as well, you don't generally make gut instinct decisions when the decision is fairly obvious. You know, if you've got some really conclusive data or you've got something that makes it really obvious what to make, you won't generally pull upon your gut instinct. Gut instinct will normally be a last chance saloon where you've just got several outcomes and you've tried to apply some logic, some reasoning behind a decision, but you still haven't come to a conclusive decision. That's when you're generally going to rely on your gut instinct. So that's part one, logic. Part two is timing. Okay, so what I mean by timing is don't rush the decision unless it has to be rushed. Right, so the timing of a decision can often be extremely important, and it can often determine whether that decision is going to be the right or wrong one, purely based on the time that you make that decision. If you make it too early, there might be some information or some that presents itself after you've made that decision that would have changed your opinion. If you make it too late, you may miss a key deadline which would have allowed you to make a certain decision which is now no longer viable. So timing is extremely important. And I think with timing as well, any form of experience you can draw upon of when you've made similar decisions can help you kind of have that argument in your mind of what decision you're going to make. So timing is really important. So look at the timing of the decision. Is it something that you have to make today? Is it something that you can make at the end of the week? And my general rule of thumb is I'll look at the bigger picture and the payoff first before, deciding upon the time. Okay, I need to know the kind of, or contingency planning. I need to know the kind of ramifications of what my decision it will be before I decide on how urgent it is to make that decision. Okay, so let's move on to number 3, and we can come back to number 2 if we need to in just a second. Number 3 is looking at the bigger picture and looking at the payoff. Okay, so when I mean look at the big picture, that might be a teeny tiny decision, but it might be part of a massive movement within your industry. It could be a part of a massive change within your business. And the reason this episode is important today is because we're just coming out of a global, well, the UK is anyway, it's just coming out of a global COVID pandemic lockdown where it's just wiped out industries over the last 18 months. Industries have been absolutely wiped out. And the point is that there would have been several decisions that those business owners could have potentially made that could have been the difference between their business being around today or not. Okay, so you obviously, these types of decisions can be so important. So look at the bigger picture. When you're talking about COVID pandemic, and I'll draw upon some of my experiences in a minute on how this has worked, but I mean, ultimately, we've, generally speaking, touch wood, flourished through COVID. Yes, the industries that we operate within have been favourable to the circumstances we found ourselves in, but we've also had to pivot and change direction on numerous occasions to try and maximise the likelihood of our business lasting the test of time, or businesses. Okay, so I'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a second. So look at the bigger picture. Is that small decision part of a bigger decision, or is it, a small decision, which is still important, perhaps not as important as a much bigger picture based decision? And number 2, look at the payoff. Now the payoff should hopefully help considerably here, because it's like return on that decision. Okay, is the decision going to provide you with a significant return? Is it going to potentially provide you with the risk of a significant loss? So understand that as well, which can obviously help you understand the magnitude of the decision you're about to make. But don't fear it, okay? Don't fear that decision. So once you understand the kind of magnitude of that issue, you can then determine when you need to make it. It might be that, it's too big a decision to make today and we're not in a massive rush, so I'm going to diarise this to make a decision on it within a couple of weeks, maybe. Running past some people. Morning.
Morning.
So, really, really important to kind of understand how those two link together. So, just finally, when have I used this kind of process? Well, I'm trying to think back, but there's obviously been several instances over the past 18 months during this global pandemic. I mean, one of them, one of the key decisions we had to make was to do with which businesses we were going to focus on, okay, which direction we were going to go in, okay. And at the beginning of pandemic, we made a strong decision to focus on online, okay. So previously, my business was always property, okay, and we knew property, or we hoped property would be pretty stable, but there was a lot of landlords that we knew who were getting squeezed on rent because tenants were losing jobs or being furloughed, etc. So that was a consideration. Were the rent still going to come in? That was really, really important to understand. Fortunately, we protected ourselves quite well, and we managed to get the lion's share of our rental income still coming in, which was really important. But we also understood that people were going to be locked down. We didn't know how long, but we knew that if we weren't focusing on, businesses that could exploit the online opportunity that the future months and years were going to create, then we could miss the boat. So we made a decision to launch a property education company, okay, which has since flourished, which has grown into a sourcing company. And obviously we've had some ups and downs within that business, but overall it's been a really, really strong sector for us to go in. So that's just an example of some key decisions we've had to make, and they weren't easy decisions. You know, you look at applying logic, okay, I just knew that, you know, if people were going to be at home, the logical outcome was that there'd be more people spending time online. So more people, more traffic online means that I needed to be in that space to maximise the potential. When I look at the bigger picture, the global pandemic, I was forecasting, but I was even predicting when it all happened that the world was never going to be the same again, and I don't think it will be, which is why we made the decisions we did at the time we did. So it was a massive movement, okay, but we looked at the bigger payoff, and we realised, yes, it's time and money and investment into this, but not a great deal. And if it didn't work out, we'd lose time and we'd lose potential opportunity cost in the property business, but it was a worthwhile risk to take, which is why gut instinct allowed me to make that decision, to make that leap into the online space. So why should you consider this? Well, you know, we live in a world of choice. I live in a world of decisions. Decisions are happening simultaneously every single minute of every single second of every single day. Some of them will be subconscious, some of them will grate on your mind for potentially years, and some really, really tough decisions out there. If you apply these principles I've given you today, it makes even making the hardest decision a process that you can kind of go through to actually trust your gut instinct. And it doesn't always work, but by going through the process that I've just talked through, it will greatly enhance the potential of it working. So that's pretty much it for me today. As always, got any questions on this stuff, drop me a comment. I'll respond to everyone. If it's a bigger topic, I'll do a separate episode and tag you in. Please do support the Runpreneur Challenge, which is our mission to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging on consecutive days the distance of one lap around the world. It's a staggering 40,075 kilometres, 11-year challenge. I have to run 5k every single day whilst vlogging, and I even do it barefoot style. So anything you can do to support the challenge will be greatly appreciated. Check the links in my bios or go to the website challenge.runpreneur.co. Runpreneur is spelled RUNPRENEUR. So challenge.runpreneur.co to find out how you can support the challenge. Stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow.